nourish your body with healthy foods, because when you are stressed, you know, it can take away some of the functions of your GI tract system, and it can inhibit some absorption of some nutrients. Smoking. So I am a former smoker myself. I smoked for many years, quit about 6 years ago. And so I know how bad it was for me. It definitely hindered, you know, the amount of exercise that I did, and my life has just been so much better after I quit. So in combination with other risk factors, smoking alone does damage to your body, but it also really increases some of the problems if you're already at risk for heart disease, as does secondhand smoke. A little note here. People that are non-smokers and are exposed to secondhand smoke increase their risk of developing heart disease by 25 to 30%. So smoking interferes with your ability to exercise. It also increases the tendency for your blood to clot, and it decreases the good cholesterol in your body, the HDL cholesterol. So a couple of quick benefits of quitting smoking. So 20 minutes after your last cigarette, your blood pressure and your heart rate recover. After 12 hours, the carbon monoxide level in your blood starts to normalize. 2 weeks to 3 months, your circulation and your lung function improves. And after 1 year, your risk of coronary heart disease is reduced by 50%. Obesity is another very large contributor to heart disease. It increases your risk factors by increasing your cholesterol and your triglycerides. It lowers your HDL cholesterol, it increases your blood pressure, and it also increases your chances of developing diabetes. And even just losing a few pounds, you can really start to see some of the benefits. Physical inactivity is also a main contributor. A lot of that is due to, you know, some of the things with our culture and, you know, the times that we're living in. There's an 83% increase in sedentary jobs since the 1950s, and people also work more hours per week, so we're sitting at our desks for longer. And so exercising and just kind of getting out and moving for even 30 minutes a day can lower the risk of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and your risk for diabetes. So a couple little tips to increase and add some movement into your life is to, you know, if you don't have 30 minutes to spend every day, you know, even one time of 10 or 15 minutes, or try to do two, so do something in the morning, do something in the evening, you know, bring the dog out with you for a walk. Even just light walking is very helpful, which I know a lot of you guys do. It was so great to walk around the property with you. That was wonderful. And I know Brownland does this, parks farther from the entrance so that she can get a little extra walking in. So doing that and taking the stairs instead of an elevator or the escalator. Bad hygiene is definitely a little bit more of an issue when you have underlying heart disease, because it puts you at risk for infection. So, you know, if you're not washing your hands properly, dental health is another one. There's not strong scientific evidence, but it has been associated with, gum disease has been associated with an increased risk in having an infection. And if you do have heart disease already, that can really cause some major problems. So it's really good to maintain good hygiene and keep those gums and your mouth healthy. Poor diet. So I have up here the standard American diet, which I'm sure we're all very familiar with. High in lots of meat, high-fat dairy, fat, sugar, and refined processed junk food, and very low in, you know, your fruit, your vegetables, so all that fiber, low in fish, and very low in whole grains. And so by reversing that and eating a diet that's low in saturated fats, so, well, I'll get into that later, low in saturated fat and eating plenty of fruits and vegetables is shown to decrease your chances of a new cardiac event by 73% when compared to the opposite, the standard American diet. So what is a heart healthy diet? Well, it's nutrient rich, it's lower in calories, and the types of foods that are included are fruits and vegetables, whole grains, low-fat dairy products, skinless fish and poultry, nuts and legumes, so beans and lentils, and non-tropical vegetable oils, so your olive oil, and avoiding, I can't think of the other oils right now, but olive oil is good. Another really important thing is to make sure that you're eating the appropriate portion sizes. So, kind of really figuring out, either you can work with a dietitian to work out the correct amount of calories for your personal needs and how much fluid you need to be, your fluid intake. And so making sure that you're not overdoing the portion sizes. And that will be something for the next lesson. So a couple of good examples of heart healthy diets are the Mediterranean diet, which focuses a lot on fish and vegetables and olive oil, and then also the DASH diet, so the dietary approach to stop hypertension, which includes a lot of kind of the similar types of foods that are listed here, and also the reduction of sodium. So in a little bit more detail, so for fruits and vegetables, obviously fresh are great, but you can also do frozen or canned. Make sure that they're not combined with high calorie sauces or things that have a lot of added sugar or salt. For your grains, you definitely want to get whole grains, so a lot of things that have fiber, or if you're eating different cereals and things like that, a lot of times they're supplemented with extra fiber, so that's always a good thing to look for too. Fish and lean meat, so you can do poultry, and if you are having fish and chicken, it's good to remove the skins before you eat it. And if you are doing red meat, maybe go for a leaner cut of meat. If you're doing ground beef, go for something that's a little bit lower in fat content, and also cutting off the fat before you cook it. And then when you do cook it, using really better, healthier cooking methods. So baking it, poach it, broil, things of that nature instead of frying. And it's also important to eat a lot of your omega-3s, which are found in many different types of fish. So kind of eating a variety of those. Salmon, trout, and herring are good sources of that. And then low-fat dairy products, so either skim milk, low-fat, 1% types of things. So a couple of foods and beverages that you want to either avoid completely or limit. I would say partially hydrogenated oils and trans fats, that can just be completely eliminated. There's really no purpose for those bad guys. Foods that are high in saturated fat, you definitely want to limit those. So that would be like your high-fat dairy, your fatty meats. Any beverages and foods with a lot of added sugar. So if you're a big pop drinker, really kind of reducing your intake of that. And also a lot of processed packaged foods that are high in sodium, which is salt, and also adding a lot of salt while you're cooking. Try to reduce that as well. And alcohol. So, a little bit of alcohol. There have been studies that have shown that, some alcohol is good for your heart, if you're doing it really in moderation, but really try to limit that. So I kind of came up with a couple of barriers that I just kind of thought of myself. So obviously these are not all of the barriers that anybody would have to preventing them from making these changes. I just kind of wanted to cover some basic ones that people might be dealing with on a regular basis. So a lot of times people have already had a heart attack. And I know for my mom, she was nervous about starting an exercise program. And she went to the hospital and they did, they measured her cardiac output, and she went on like a rehabilitation program and things like that. But still, even when I'm out walking with her, it made me nervous. I made sure to have my phone on me, just in case anything happens. So first, and I don't have this on here, but first really, talk to your doctor and make sure that they're aware of the exercise program that you wanna start doing. And also just if they can give you any tips about how to start. But really you want to start slow with some light exercise. So doing a nice casual walk is really nice, using a stationary bike, doing any sort of water aerobics, something that's light on your body and not gonna put too much pressure on your heart. And so another good tip is to exercise at the same time each day. So a lot of times if you have had a heart attack, you're probably on some sort of medications, and so it's kind of important to get into a routine so that you're taking your medications at the same time, and so that you're not going to kind of alter anything with your exercise program. And use a buddy. Either have someone there with you, or make sure you're doing it in like a space where there's a lot of people, just in case anything does happen. You're not alone and having another episode. So make sure that you have someone with you that can help. So another one is if you have limited ability or access to exercise. So there's a lot of alternative forms, besides just going out and doing walks and running and things like that. Yoga is great. There's all different types of yoga to do. Yoga isn't just a lot of people kind of think there's just like one way to do yoga, but there's yin poses, there's things that you can do. You can do a lot of chair yoga, so you can do yoga if you're in a wheelchair. Absolutely, and still get some really good benefits. And there's always ways to modify different movements too. So yoga really isn't all about getting into that pose. It's really about, finding what works for you, and anything you're doing is going to be beneficial to you. Again, water aerobics could be really good, if you have some barriers to that. Resistance training is something you can do in the wheelchair, to strengthen your upper body. And also, so if you don't have a good area to walk outside, or you don't have a gym to go to, you can always do exercise at home. And that's kind of why on the handout, I just did a little shout out to Yoga with Adrienne, and she has some great at-home free yoga videos on YouTube that I love using. So that's always an option. So what happens if you don't know how to cook, or you don't really know where to start? You don't have the knowledge about changing your diet. There's at this time in our lives, there's so many different great resources out there for information. So, getting online and watching different cooking demos. There's a lot of programs available and classes that can help you learn about nutrition and kind of how to make this transition from, maybe a standard American diet into a heart healthy diet. Definitely take advantage of your local libraries and check books out. That way you can get a lot of different information without really having to purchase the books firsthand. So you can read about a lot of different areas, or you can definitely buy some books and kind of keep them on hand. I know when I first moved into my apartment years ago, a friend of mine gave me Mark Bittman's How to Cook Everything, and it's a Bible. It's a cookbook about that thick, and I refer to it all the time. It answers all of my cooking questions. So having something like that at home to refer back to is excellent. So what about family responsibilities? So, a lot of times you might need to make a change, but you have a family to cook for that maybe isn't all that interested in eating your heart healthy diet. So it's always good to, really use your family to get support, to help you make these changes. And, because it's going to be just all that, it's going to be so much better when you have the support of your family, or maybe even them doing it with you. And that's going to make you much more successful. Choosing recipes that everyone can enjoy. So, trying things out and getting feedback from your family about what they like to eat will kind of keep everyone in the loop and keep everyone healthier. And also, so you might be short on time, and there's a lot of great recipes that you can do that you can make ahead of time and freeze, so that, you know, if you're worried about being on the go,